Hi, welcome to Adventure Miniature. I'm your host Aaron, and today we're going to be working on a project, one of many, hopefully in the future, to get one of my friends into trying and playing wargaming. Thanks for joining me. So today I'm going to be working on roads. So let's check it out. Let's look and see what I did, what I've learned, so we can share together. If you like this content and you want to see more like it, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. It lets me know that people are interested, and it lets YouTube know to show it to videos. All hail the YouTube dark gods. Pew, pew. So you might be asking yourself, why would I want to build a road system like this? And I'll show you why I do it, and you can decide. Move these guys. So there's a lot of great road systems out there that you can buy out there. I just didn't want to spend that kind of money going around where I live, that kind of thing. But these roads are really good about. Let's use this for a hill here. Bring over this sprue. Well, let's get some more sprues. Put those underneath there. We can make a really nice road system. These roads bend really well around things. Alright? Another thing about these road systems, this felt road system, I guess is what I should be calling it or whatever, you are pretty nigh indestructible. I can close that up and I can open it back up and it's perfectly fine, which means they don't get damaged in storage, which is a big issue for me, and if you own a lot of terrain, I'm sure it's an issue for you. So, what are you going to need to do to build this kind of road system? Well, let me show you what you're going to need. Move these little guys out here. You're going to need some felt. I just buy this at Walmart's in the States. Comes in a big pack. It's fairly cheap. I got 2 apple barrel paints. Black is what I use for my base. Gray is what I use for the top. I guess you really could use whatever paint you wanted for your base color, but it just so happens I have black. We're going to have some wood glue. I find wood glue is the best for holding down sand. With sand, we're going to need some sand. Again, stone gravel. I think this goes in like flower pots. I'm not sure. I bought this in the States at Walmart too. It's, again, the cheapest thing I could get. Some gloves if you're so inclined to keep your hands pretty. We're going to need a ruler to mark out our lines. I have 2 paint pens, a white and a yellow. Just what I use for my road colors. I'm sure it's different around the States, but that's what I use. And I need a pencil and a piece of paper to write down my ideas for what I'm going to be doing. Because if you're anything like me, when you build something, you don't build enough of it. So you have to build some more. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my handy dandy notes. See what size I want. We're going to grab our felt, and you're just going to have to pretend with me. We're going to get our nice scissors, and we're going to cut out the size after we measure it. Throw that down to the floor, because I've already prepared a piece here. So this is roughly the size we're going to have for today. We're going to be using pre-made sections so I can film this. But we're going to get out just my painting piece here. Get us our black paint. Yummy. Guess you use whatever brush you want, but I just use house repair brushes, and I am just going to cover the entire thing in a base color. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be cheap, but we just want this paint to get soaked into this felt, because it soaks up paint like crazy. And I found that if I put my wood glue on here, it does much of the same. So if we give this a cheap base coat, helps stiffen it up, and it gives it, well, I mean, it helps it not to soak up that wood paint that we're going to need later. Glad I did little sections. This would be a pain to show off with great big sections. Alright, cool. Put my brush in my water cup here. Put my apple bottle. That's all we're going to need for that. Cool, and then you would just leave this to dry. Set that off to the side. I said set this off to the side. Okay, now that we've set that one aside, we're going to go ahead and reach over here. We're going to get one that's magically already dry. So, now that it's dried, you can see it might dry patchy. That's not important. Take our wood glue. We're just going to do the exact same thing again. Like curdled milk. Ugh. Ever have those mornings where you're dead tired and you just wake up and get a big old gulp of curdled milk? Wakes you up real quick. Leave a comment if you've done that. But we're going to do the same thing. You can see I've cleaned out my brush a little bit. It's not really that important. But we want to spread that nice wood glue all the way around again. Want it to be nice and thick. See how it doesn't really absorb, which is what we want, because we want that wood glue to be spread nice, consistently all the way around, because this is what's going to hold our sand, obviously. But wood glue, I find, has a property that it doesn't evaporate all the way. I don't know the science behind glue. If you know the science behind the glue, feel free to tell me. Might be actually pretty cool if you tell me. I like learning things. I like sharing what I learn. But we're going to take this, now that you can see it's pretty much all the way glued. But it's a giant container of just sand. This is sand I already had, but again, you can use your grain sand. This is just different colored versions of that. We're just gonna cover that up. Use whatever scooper or method you see fit. Ba-boom. And we're gonna reach into that goodness. Just pull that out. Looky there, looky there. Winner, winner. Beautiful. All right, cool. Now that this is done, we're going to go ahead and pick this guy up, let him dry. Of course, I'm just going to put him off to the side here. Move our handy dandy paint tray. Please don't get my drinking. All right. And I'm just going to get one that's already dry. The power of production? I don't know. I'm not a professional. You're going to want to dry your paintbrush off and clean it pretty good, this one. A fun fact, I find that if I buy these house brushes that have the silicone fake hairs, I don't know, probably not silicone, nylon maybe. Anyway, you can clean these off pretty good from wood glue and they won't go bad. I've had the same one for years now. I just cleaned it out really good and it pretty much stays good as opposed to buying, I don't know, they're not very expensive anyway, but that's my tip of the day for this. Ooh, I should not have moved this because our next step, put my painting tray back after all that. We'll flip it around anyway. Keep the glue on that side. We're going to go to our pewter gray apple barrel. And we're going to paint this bad boy gray now. And we're just going to do pretty much the same thing. Gloop it on there. Let it dry. This is kind of like the extra glue on top of the sand to let it harden all together anyway. But it'll give us that nice consistency of road. And I guess really you could do whatever color you wanted. I know all roads are different. Some roads, like in Asia, they have seashells in them. I think some in Europe are a little bit more dark, almost black. I feel like I've seen some of those up north in the United States too. I know I've seen some in the south of the United States have like almost concrete. Might have been concrete. You have some roads that are concrete in the south, mid-south, wherever. Post in the comments. Again, I like just learning things. But if you build some modular roads to mimic your roads where you live, oh man, I want to see those. Oh, do I want to see those. All right. Like I said, with this paint, I'm making sure it's pretty consistent. I want it to have that nice thick. If you remember with the black, we didn't necessarily have to have it all the way through. But with our base color, I'm using gray. We wanted a really nice coat. Really, really consistent. Almost where it's too thick, I guess, on the sides and stuff. Because we're not worried necessarily about the sand coming off while we're painting. You can kind of see a few of them where they've broken loose here and there. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. But this paint layer is it's just going to keep that all glued down. Or that's the main go. Give us that base color to work with. All right. I just make sure I go around all the edges here. Make sure it's not anything that's going to break loose. And there we go. Look at that nice full base color. Yes! All right, now that we have this nice gloopy gray road, of course we're going to set it off to the side here. You can tell with the sand that's glued on there, it's still pretty stiff. But we're going to put that off to glue, let it dry, all that good stuff. It is important to let every layer kind of dry out. Otherwise, the magic doesn't really work, I find. It might work for you, doesn't really work that great for me. So you want to let every layer to dry out. And of course, we have our last pre-made section here. And this pretty much looks like the finished product. Ooh, Nurgle. Really, I guess. Not Nurgle. Slanesh. Okay, so if you're anything like me, I'm going to have a piece roughly, and you can already tell these roughly aren't super perfect together. Can you see that? But I aim for good enough. That's what we're going to do today. Oops, just knocked down a miniature. So I'm going to stand up out of my chair, so I'm going to make some noise. There we go. But we're going to do just good enough. I hope this is in the camera. Check. Yeah, roughly. And you could be really good and measure these, but I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to shake my pen here. Of course, I'm going to do white, because that's what matches all my other roads. Hold my fingers down. We're just going to paint a nice line on here. Bada beam. Move my thing. Make sure it still matches roughly. Of course, I can always go up and trim this excess off the bottom here, because you can see where it's really too big on the bottom. But I'm just going to
Put that nice white line there. Doesn't have to be super thick. In fact, I find that if it's a little sketchy, broken, just seems like it's a worn out road. Now, one thing I am going to do, excuse me, while I do shake the yellow pin here, is I'm just going to roughly put a little line, like a dot right there. I'm going to flip this bad boy over and just going to do another one on the other side. That way I just fairly get a consistent start and stop line. Alright, I'm going to sit back down. Sorry, it's going to make some noise. Okay, so for my lines, I do my centimeter side. So I'll flip it like this. It's hard to see around my camera here. Okay, so I'm going to line up my thing. And for me, I go 2 full centimeters for a line, and then I'll skip 2 centimeters. But you do what you think is good, what looks right for you. After all, you're not building this for me, you're building this for you. And make it nice. And you never know. I'm one of those people that even though I'm like, this way is my way and I think my way is right, it's always good to have that mentality, I find, that if someone else does something, to be open to the idea of, oh man, their way is better than my way. I'm going to do it that way in the future. And that's all it takes. Look, now I have this nice road. And it connects roughly to my old road. Now, if I was playing a game, and I set my table up for my friends to come over and play, and hopefully this one in particular friend that I want to get into wargaming, I would take these backs, because they're still fuzzy, and I just take Scotch tape, or any type of like boxing tape. I guess you could even use like duct tape, depending where you're at. And I just glue a strip to the bottom here. And it pretty much holds them together for the game. And then when I'm done to put all my stuff up, just flip them over, pull that off, and it's tear them apart. Easy storage. Thanks for watching. I hope this was a great video for you and that you can go and build many things and perfect it. I don't know what you would want to say. But if you do add on it, I guess just thinking about it, you could take some washes, kind of add oil stains or road stains, whatever you do. Post it on there or on my Twitter account or whatever, and let me see what you've done, because I want to see the awesomeness that you can make too.